Welcome to Folktale by Jade, the home of unique stories. Today's story is one of betrayal, secrets, and justice served cold. The mansion overlooked the city like a crown on a hill. Inside, Amanda moved through her morning routine with practiced elegance, overseeing breakfast, checking the day's schedule, ensuring everything ran smoothly. She had mastered the art of being a politician's wife over 15 years of marriage. The charity galas, the strategic dinners, the careful smiles for cameras. She did it all flawlessly. Festus sat at the breakfast table, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging her presence. Their marriage had grown comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. The passion had faded into routine, but Amanda convinced herself this was normal. Marriages evolved. They were partners, a team building an empire together. "Don't forget your speech at the Women's Foundation tonight," Amanda reminded him gently, pouring his coffee just the way he liked it, 2 sugars, no cream. Festus responded absently, his attention fixed on his screen. Amanda noticed his phone screen tilt away from her, a subtle movement but deliberate. She brushed it off. She had no reason to doubt him. They had built a life together, 2 beautiful daughters, properties across the city, political influence that opened every door. Why would he risk all of that? She had no idea that her perfect life was already crumbling, one secret at a time. It started with small things. Festus began coming home later, always with reasonable excuses. Meeting with the governor ran long. Traffic was unbearable. Had to attend an emergency party caucus. Amanda believed every word. Why wouldn't she? Trust was the foundation of their marriage. Then came the phone calls he took in other rooms. She'd walk into his study, and he'd end conversations abruptly. "I'll call you back," he'd say quickly, before turning to her with a smile. "Just work stuff. You know how it is." She noticed other changes too. New cologne, more expensive than his usual brand. Extra attention to his appearance, new suits, frequent haircuts, a sudden interest in the gym. When she complimented his efforts, he'd shrug. "Just want to look good for the cameras. Politics is all about image, you know." Amanda pushed her suspicions down. She was being paranoid. Festus was ambitious, always had been. These changes were just part of maintaining his public image. Nothing more. But late at night, lying beside him in bed, she'd catch him smiling at his phone screen, the blue light illuminating his face in the darkness. When she'd ask who he was texting, he'd say, "Just the party chairman," or "campaign strategist." The answers came too quickly, too smoothly. Deep in her gut, something whispered that things weren't right. But Amanda silenced that voice. She had invested 15 years in this marriage. She had 2 daughters to think about. Sometimes, she told herself, ignorance was easier than truth. 3 months into the changes, Martha approached Amanda while she was reading in the garden. The maid had worked for them for over a decade, loyal and discreet. But that afternoon, her hands twisted nervously against her apron. "Madam, may I speak freely?" Martha's voice trembled slightly. Amanda looked up from her book, concerned. "Of course, Martha. What's troubling you?" Martha hesitated, clearly wrestling with herself. "It's about Sir. I saw something last Tuesday." Amanda's heart skipped, but she kept her voice calm. "What did you see?" "I was at the market downtown, the one near Victoria Restaurant. I saw Sir's car parked outside." Martha paused, taking a breath. "When you thought he was at the Capitol for meetings?" Amanda's hands tightened on her book. "Perhaps the meeting location changed." Martha's eyes filled with sadness. "He wasn't alone, madam. There was a young woman with him. They were very close, holding hands across the table, laughing together. The way he looked at her." Martha trailed off, unable to continue. The words hung in the air like smoke. Amanda felt her world tilt slightly, but she steadied herself. Perhaps she's a business associate. You know, Festus meets with many people. Madam, I know what I saw. And I've seen that same car parked at the Grand Towers Hotel 3 times now, always in the evening when Sir says he's working late at the office. Amanda set her book down carefully, her movements controlled. Thank you for telling me, Martha. That will be all. After Martha left, Amanda sat in the garden for a long time, watching the sun sink behind the city skyline. She could feel tears threatening, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not until she knew for certain. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. Maybe Martha was mistaken. But in her heart, Amanda already knew the truth. She just wasn't ready to face it yet. A week later, Amanda made a phone call from her personal mobile, not the house line. She contacted a private investigation firm recommended by a discreet friend. I need to know what my husband is doing, she said simply. I need proof. The investigator was professional, asking no unnecessary questions. Give me 2 weeks, Mrs. Okafor. Those 2 weeks were torture. Amanda went through her days like an actress on stage, playing the role of the perfect wife. She smiled at dinner parties, hosted political gatherings, attended her daughter's school events. But inside, she was dying slowly, waiting for confirmation of what she already suspected. When the investigator finally called, asking to meet in person, Amanda knew. People only requested face-to-face meetings when the news was bad. They met at a quiet cafe across town, far from anywhere she might be recognized. The investigator slid a brown envelope across the table. I'm sorry, Mrs. Okafor. With trembling hands, Amanda opened it. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Festus and a young woman, beautiful, confident, probably in her late 20s. They were at restaurants, entering hotels, sitting close in his car. In one photo, he was kissing her neck. In another, they were holding hands, his wedding ring clearly visible. Her name is Jane Okonkwo, the investigator said quietly. She's a business consultant, at least officially. They've been seeing each other for approximately 8 months. He's rented her an apartment in the Lakeview district. He visits her 3 to 4 times per week. Amanda stared at the photos, her vision blurring. 8 months. While she'd been planning their anniversary celebration. While she'd been supporting his political campaigns. While she'd been raising their daughters alone because he was too busy with work. There's more, the investigator continued. 2 weeks ago, he purchased a Lamborghini Aventador. Registered in her name. It was delivered to her apartment with champagne and roses. A Lamborghini. Amanda felt sick. That kind of money didn't just appear. They had joint finances, shared accounts. Or so she thought. How much did it cost? Approximately 250 million naira. The cafe seemed to spin around her. That was a fortune. Money that should have been discussed, agreed upon together. Money that belonged to their family, their daughters' futures. And he'd spent it on a car for his mistress. Amanda gathered the photos carefully, sliding them back into the envelope. Her hands had stopped shaking. Something cold and hard had settled in her chest, replacing the ache. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. Send me your final invoice. She drove home in silence, the envelope on the passenger seat beside her like a ticking bomb. When she arrived, Festus's car wasn't there. Working late, he told her that morning. Working late with Jane, she thought bitterly. In her study, Amanda locked the door and spread the photographs across her desk. She studied each one carefully, clinically. The woman, Jane, was young and beautiful, everything Amanda had been 15 years ago. Was that all she was to Festus now? Old news. Yesterday's murder. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw things, to burn the photos, to confront Festus immediately and watch him squirm. But Amanda had learned something important over 15 years of being a politician's wife: emotion was weakness. Strategy was power. She gathered the photos and locked them in her desk drawer. Then she opened her laptop and began researching divorce lawyers. But not just any lawyers, the best, the most ruthless, the ones who specialized in high-asset divorces. She found Lydia Ajayi, a lawyer known for dismantling wealthy men's empires in court. Amanda sent an email requesting a consultation. If Festus wanted to destroy their marriage, fine. But he would not destroy her in the process. She would make sure of that. A week after receiving the investigation report, Amanda was scrolling through Instagram late at night. Festus was snoring beside her, exhausted from another long day at the office. She'd found herself unable to sleep lately, her mind racing with questions and plans. A suggested post appeared on her feed, something about luxury cars in Lagos. She clicked on it absently. And there it was. A gleaming silver Lamborghini, photographed at a high-end restaurant. The caption read, "Living my best life #blessed #luxury lifestyle." Amanda's blood ran cold. She clicked on the profile. Jane Okonkwo. Private account, but the profile picture was visible, the same young woman from the investigators' photos. Beautiful, radiant, sitting in the driver's seat of the Lamborghini, looking like she owned the world. Amanda requested to follow the account, using a fake profile she'd created for exactly this purpose. To her surprise, Jane accepted within minutes. Apparently, she wasn't too concerned about privacy when it came to flaunting her luxurious life. Amanda scrolled through the feed, each post a knife to her heart. The Lamborghini featured prominently. Jane posing beside it. Jane driving it through downtown. Videos of the engine roaring. Close-ups of the interior's leather seats. And in several posts, partially visible in reflections or backgrounds, was Festus. The comments were full of admiration and envy. "Girl, who's your sponsor? Living the dream. Can I be you?" Jane responded to many with cryptic emojis, wink faces, hearts, money bags. Amanda felt rage building inside her, hot and consuming. This woman was parading her affair with Amanda's husband publicly, barely bothering to hide it. And judging by the timeline of posts, this had been going on for months while Amanda remained oblivious. But then Amanda noticed something else. In several posts, the Lamborghini's license plate was partially visible. She zoomed in, memorizing the number. This might be important later. She took screenshots of everything: the car, the post, the comments, the dates. Evidence. She was building a case, piece by piece. Beside her, Festus shifted in his sleep, murmuring something incoherent. Amanda looked at him with new eyes. This man, who she'd loved and trusted for 15 years, was a stranger. Had always been a stranger, perhaps. She'd just been too blind to see it. She closed her phone and lay in the darkness, thinking. Planning. She wouldn't act impulsively. She would be smart, calculated, strategic. By the time she was done, Festus would regret ever taking her for granted. Lydia Ajayi's office was in a sleek high-rise downtown, all glass and polished wood. The lawyer herself was in her 50s, elegant and sharp-eyed, with the air of someone who'd seen everything twice. "Mrs. Okafor," Lydia greeted her, gesturing to a leather chair. "I've read about your husband. Quite the rising political star." Amanda sat, her back straight, her handbag containing the envelope of photographs on her lap. "He's having an affair. He's been hiding assets. I want to know what I'm entitled to." Lydia leaned back, studying her. "Most women who come to me are emotional. Crying, angry, ready to burn everything down. You seem remarkably calm." "I've done my crying," Amanda said quietly. "Now I want justice." Justice. Lydia nodded approvingly. Not revenge. I like that. Revenge is messy, emotional, often backfires. Justice is clean, legal, permanent. She opened a leather folder. Tell me everything. Amanda laid it all out, the affair, the Lamborghini, the hidden apartment, the 8 months of lies. She handed over the photographs and the investigator's report. Lydia examined everything carefully, making notes. The Lamborghini is interesting, Lydia mused. That's a significant asset. Registered in her name, you said. According to my investigator, yes. But purchased with marital funds, presumably. We have joint accounts. Everything we've built has been together. Lydia smiled, and it wasn't the kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted prey. Then that car is partially yours, whether it's in her name or not. In fact, everything he's purchased during your marriage, with marital funds, is partially yours. She pulled out several documents. Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll conduct a full asset search. Properties, investments, bank accounts, everything. Men like your husband often hide money, offshore accounts, shell companies, assets registered under relatives' names. We'll find it all. And then we'll file for separation and asset division. We'll freeze all accounts so he can't move money around. We'll inventory every property, every investment, every asset. And we'll ensure you get exactly what you're entitled to, 50% of everything acquired during the marriage. Amanda felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For the first time since Martha's warning, she felt like she had control. How long will this take? Depends on how complicated he's made things. But I'm very good at untangling complicated situations. Lydia leaned forward. I need to be clear about something, though. This will get ugly. He'll fight back. He'll try to paint you as greedy, vindictive. The media will get involved. Are you prepared for that? Amanda thought about the photographs, about Jane's Instagram post, about 8 months of lies and betrayal. Yes. I'm prepared. Good. Lydia extended her hand. Then let's get started. Lydia worked quickly and quietly. Within 3 weeks, she'd uncovered a web of hidden assets. Festus had been busy. Properties registered under his late brother's name. Investment accounts under shell companies. Land purchased through business associates who existed only on paper. He'd been systematically hiding money for years, long before the affair with Jane began. He was planning this, Lydia told Amanda during one of their meetings. Or at least, he was protecting himself in case of divorce. Very calculating. The discovery hurt more than the affair itself. It meant Festus had never truly trusted her, had always kept one foot out the door. Their entire marriage had been built on lies. But to proceed with the asset division, Lydia needed one crucial thing, Festus's signature on a document that would convert certain disputed properties into joint ownership. It needs to look routine, Lydia explained. Something he'd sign without thinking twice. Amanda understood. 2 weeks later, she approached Festus with a stack of papers. He was in his study, preparing for a campaign speech, his phone buzzing constantly with messages. Probably Jane, Amanda thought bitterly. Darling, could you sign these? She asked sweetly, placing the papers on his desk. They are donation forms for the girls' school fundraiser. The deadline is tomorrow. Festus barely glanced up. Sure. He was texting, smiling at his phone. Amanda watched as he signed each page mechanically, not reading a single word. His signature was bold, confident, the signature of a man who didn't think he could be touched. Hidden among the school forms was Lydia's carefully crafted document. He signed it without pause, without even a moment's hesitation. Thanks, darling, Amanda said, gathering the papers. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. "I'll get this submitted." "Mom," Festus replied, already back to his phone, chuckling at something Jane had sent. Amanda walked calmly to her study and immediately scanned the signed document, sending it to Lydia. Within minutes, her lawyer responded, "Perfect. We are ready to file." Amanda looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was someone new, harder, colder, more determined. The naive, trusting Amanda was gone. In her place stood someone who would fight for what she deserved. "Game on, Festus," she whispered. The court papers arrived at Festus's office on a Tuesday morning. Amanda had planned it carefully. She was at a charity event, surrounded by cameras and witnesses, playing the perfect political wife. She wanted an alibi for when his world started collapsing. Festus opened the envelope casually, probably expecting another party invitation or political petition. Instead, he found legal documents, motion for separation and equitable distribution of marital assets. According to his secretary, who later gave Amanda a detailed account, his face went white. His hands started shaking as he read through page after page of listed assets, properties, accounts, investments, everything. Things he thought were hidden. Things he'd never told Amanda about. At the bottom was a court order, all listed assets frozen pending investigation and division proceedings. He immediately tried accessing his bank app. Account temporarily restricted. Another account. Same message. His offshore account. Locked. In under an hour, Amanda had effectively frozen his entire empire. He couldn't touch a single naira. Festus grabbed his phone and called Amanda. She was at the charity event, smiling for cameras, when her phone buzzed. She excused herself politely and answered. "What have you done?" he screamed, forgetting they were both in public spaces. "I've protected my interest, Festus," Amanda replied calmly. "What we built together. This is insane. You can't just freeze everything." "The court disagrees. You signed the document yourself, darling. Joint ownership, remember." There was a long, stunned silence. "You tricked me." "No, Festus. You stopped paying attention to what you were signing. To who you were married to. To what actually mattered." Her voice remained eerily calm. 15 years, Festus. 15 years I stood by you. Built your career. Raised your children. Managed your household. And you repaid me with lies and betrayal. Amanda, please, we can talk about this. We are done talking. My lawyer will be in touch. She hung up and turned off her phone. Then she returned to the charity event, smiled graciously for the cameras, and delivered a beautiful speech about empowering women to take control of their lives. The applause was thunderous. Meanwhile, across town, Festus sat in his office, staring at his phone, his frozen accounts, his crumbling empire. The woman he dismissed as weak, as decoration, had just checkmated him in a single move. News of Festus's frozen assets spread quickly through political circles. Allies started distancing themselves. Just a temporary legal issue, his spokesman claimed. But everyone could see the cracks forming. Jane noticed immediately. Festus stopped taking her to expensive restaurants. He cancelled a planned trip to Dubai. When she asked for money for a spa day, he made excuses. Everything's tied up temporarily. Legal issues. It will be resolved soon. But Jane wasn't stupid. She'd seen men fall before. The signs were obvious, the nervous phone checking, the worry lines, the fake confidence. "How temporary?" she pressed. "I don't know," he snapped. "My wife is being vindictive." "Your wife?" Jane's eyes narrowed. "I thought you said she was weak. That she'd never fight back." Festus had no answer. That night, Jane did what any smart woman would do, she started researching her options. Rich men were everywhere in Lagos. Festus had been a good provider, but if the money was drying up, why stay? Love was wonderful when paired with luxury. But poverty. She hadn't left her previous life to struggle. She packed valuable jewelry he'd given her, designer bags, cash she'd saved. Just in case. She'd give it another week, maybe 2. If Festus didn't recover, she'd move on. Loyalty had its limits, and hers ended where her bank account began. While Amanda's legal battle unfolded privately, something else was brewing. Mr. Chidi, a government auditor, had a habit of scrolling through social media during his lunch breaks. One day, Jane's Instagram appeared in his feed. The algorithm knew he'd been searching for information about luxury cars. He paused on a post showing the Lamborghini, its license plate clearly visible. Something about it nagged at him. He zoomed in, studying the number. It looked familiar. Back at his desk, Mr. Chidi pulled up recent government vehicle purchases. His department had been auditing the infrastructure ministry's expenses. He cross-referenced the Lamborghini's plate number. His eyes widened. The car had been purchased through a government procurement account, money allocated for road construction equipment. The purchase order was signed by Festus Okafor himself, approved as a departmental vehicle for official transport. But the registration was in a private citizen's name, Jane Okonkwo. Mr. Chidi sat back, stunned. This was embezzlement. Fraud. Misuse of public funds. And it was all documented, posted cheerfully on social media for the world to see. He compiled the evidence and sent it to his supervisor with a simple note: urgent investigation required. Within days, the Financial Crimes Unit opened a formal case. Nobody had connected the dots yet between Festus's marital troubles and the government investigation. But the walls were closing in from multiple directions. While government investigators worked quietly, another bomb was about to drop. Chief Bola, one of Festus's political associates, had been nursing a grudge for months. Festus had cheated him in a land deal, pocketing money that should have been shared. One evening, over drinks at an exclusive lounge, Festus got careless. Surrounded by men he thought were friends, emboldened by whiskey and male bravado, he talked too freely. Women, right? One associate laughed. Your wife must be losing her mind over this separation. Festus grinned arrogantly. Amanda. She's weak. She's trying to act tough, but she'll back down. She always does. She knows her place. The men laughed. Chief Bola laughed too, but his phone was recording every word. These modern women think they can challenge us, another man added. But money talks. They always come crawling back. Exactly, Festus agreed. I built everything. She was just there, looking pretty, playing housewife. She wants 50%. She contributed nothing. More laughter. More drinks. More damning words. That night, Chief Bola sent the audio file to 3 different bloggers. Publish this, he wrote. Let the world hear what he really thinks about his wife. By morning, the audio was everywhere. The audio file went viral instantly. Festus's voice, clear and unmistakable: Amanda. She's weak. She knows her place. I built everything. She contributed nothing. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Women's groups organized protests outside his office. Activists called him a disgrace. Social media exploded with condemnation. His political party issued a weak statement: "We're reviewing the situation." Even worse, journalists started digging deeper. They found Jane's Instagram. They connected the Lamborghini to government procurement records. Headlines screamed, "Politician buys mistress luxury car with public funds while calling wife weak." The Financial Crimes Unit, which had been investigating quietly, suddenly faced massive public pressure to act quickly. Within days, officers arrived at Festus's office. Mr. Okafor, You're needed for questioning regarding financial irregularities and possible misuse of public funds. Festus tried to maintain composure. There must be a mistake. No mistake, sir. We have substantial evidence. They led him out in front of news cameras. His arrest was the top story on every channel. The man who'd called his wife weak was now being led away by police, looking small and scared. Amanda watched the news from her study. She felt no joy, no satisfaction. Only a deep, weary relief. The truth was finally out. And justice was beginning to speak. Jane was arrested trying to sell the Lamborghini. The car was seized as evidence. Festus was charged with embezzlement, money laundering, and fraud. The trial was swift, the evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. All illegally obtained assets were forfeited to the state. His political career was destroyed. His reputation was in ruins. Jane received a reduced sentence for cooperating with prosecutors, 3 years and a permanent mark on her record. The Instagram post that had made her feel like a queen became evidence in court. Exhibit A, B, C. Her golden lifestyle was gone in an instant. Amanda, meanwhile, was awarded 50% of all legitimate marital assets. Lydia had fought brilliantly, proving Amanda's contributions to Festus's success, the networking, the household management, the political strategy she provided behind the scenes. With her settlement, Amanda established a foundation to help women escape abusive marriages and hidden financial control. She became a speaker, an advocate, a voice for women who'd lost themselves in bad relationships. She never remarried. She didn't need to. She'd found something better than a husband, she'd found herself. Years later, a reporter asked Amanda if she'd ever forgiven Festus. She thought carefully before answering. Forgiveness isn't about him, she said finally. It's about me choosing peace over bitterness. I forgave him for my own sake, not his. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what he did was okay. It means I'm no longer carrying the weight of his betrayal. I put it down and walked away lighter. In his prison cell, Festus had plenty of time to think about his choices. The affair that seemed so exciting. The Lamborghini that seemed so impressive. The wife he'd taken for granted. He traded diamonds for dust, and now he was paying the price. Some lessons come easy. Others cost everything. Festus chased pleasure and lost everything. Amanda chose dignity and gained freedom. Remember this tale, every secret has a price, every betrayal leaves scars, and every Lamborghini, no matter how shiny, cannot outrun the truth. Respect is earned through integrity but lost in a moment of foolishness. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of justice, wisdom, and truth.